His voice carried across the entire dining establishment when he declared she couldn't comprehend the menu. Unfortunately for him, her French surpassed anything he'd ever master. The gentle clatter of utensils, quiet murmur of patrons, an aromatic blend of garlic and butter permeated Livia March. This intimate French-style bistro nestled away from Magazine Street in New Orleans buzzed with midday activity. The lunch rush brought a steady flow of customers. The atmosphere remained controlled rather than frantic. University faculty, legal professionals, camera-laden visitors, and a pair of construction workers enjoying Topo Chico at the counter filled the space. Then Sterling Bradford Whitmore made his entrance. His reputation echoed through technology communities, appeared in business publications, and resonated across entrepreneurial broadcasts. His impressive height, bronzed complexion, and impeccable attire commanded attention. Every detail of his presence announced, "This space belongs to me." His arrival required no advance booking, designer sunglasses remained positioned, wireless earpiece blinked steadily. Such individuals don't request seating arrangements. They anticipate accommodation. "Table for one," he stated without emotion, never lifting his gaze from his device. The hostess acknowledged him, attempting to mask her anxiety. "Certainly, please follow me, sir." Sterling claimed the prime corner spot with optimal illumination, typically held for frequent patrons. His positioning suggested the entire establishment should revolve around his presence. From across the dining area, Amani Dupree, an elegant African-American woman approaching 40, straightened her server's apron and retrieved her order pad. Her tenure at Livia March spanned almost 4 years. This day began no differently from countless others. She approached his table wearing her characteristic composed, welcoming expression. "Good afternoon. I'm Amani, and I'll be serving you today. Would you prefer still or sparkling water?" Sterling interrupted her greeting with a dismissive grunt while gesturing toward the leather-bound menu. "This whole thing's written in French," he announced, dramatically flipping pages with obvious distaste. "You'd expect American establishments to use English." Amani remained unruffled. "That's actually integral to our dining experience here. We're happy to provide translations if needed." Sterling's smirk widened as he shifted in his seat, proclaiming loudly enough for all to hear, "She can't even comprehend the menu. What establishment employs someone who doesn't understand their own offerings?" Time seemed suspended. The sound of dropped cutlery echoed from 3 tables away. A server paused mid-pour. A nearby couple exchanged uncertain glances, questioning what they'd witnessed. Amani blinked once. Her expression remained unchanged. Her posture stayed relaxed. She simply stood there, pen poised, observing the man who'd attempted to publicly humiliate her with a single statement. Then, with remarkable composure and gentleness, she positioned the menu toward him, indicated a section near the top, and began speaking. "La crème fraîche. C'est frais." The French flowed from her mouth like liquid silk. Her pronunciation was crisp, confident, and clear. Meeting his gaze directly, she explained, "That's zucchini soup enhanced with crème fraîche and fresh herbs. Would you like to hear about our other offerings?" Sterling appeared stunned, caught completely unprepared. He attempted a nervous chuckle as if she might be joking. She wasn't. She continued in flawless French. Her translation proceeded dish by dish with methodical precision. Then came the moment no one would forget. She gently corrected his mispronunciation of bœuf bourguignon, the entree he'd butchered earlier while maintaining his arrogant demeanor. By her conclusion, the atmosphere had transformed entirely. Sterling's smirk had vanished, replaced by uncomfortable silence. Amani closed the menu carefully, set it down, and waited. "Still or sparkling?" she repeated, her voice maintaining perfect calm. Sterling cleared his throat. "Still water." "Excellent choice, sir," she replied, departing as if nothing unusual had occurred. But whispered conversations began the instant she turned away. Sterling Bradford Whitmore hadn't always embodied this character. He wasn't born as someone who spoke loudly to diminish strangers. His upbringing in Lafayette, Louisiana, was solidly middle class. His mother educated 6th graders in mathematics. His father operated an auto parts business that perpetually smelled of oil and cardboard. Sterling possessed intelligence. He was perceptive enough to notice when others treated his father as an outsider, particularly during franchise expansion meetings. This observation stayed with Sterling. He made a quiet vow during high school. He would never enter any space feeling inferior again. His scholarship to Tulane excluded fraternity life and football games, just concentrated study in computer science and finance. He rarely socialized or attended parties. By graduation, he developed a tool helping small businesses manage cash flow without hiring full-time financial officers. 3 years later, that innovation sold for 8 figures, and Sterling became someone whose calls got returned. Then wealth arrived. The challenge was that prolonged feelings of inadequacy can make power feel like a weapon when finally obtained. Sterling began arriving late to meetings deliberately. He publicly corrected others not to assist them, but to demonstrate his superiority. He spoke over service staff. He made cutting remarks to interns. Money didn't create his rudeness. It simply provided a platform for public display. His assistant, Trish, once mentioned he'd become difficult to defend. He dismissed her concern. Success doesn't require permission. His cruelty wasn't always intentional. But in his environment, volume often masked mistakes. This strategy worked until it failed. Here's the truth. Sterling believed the world still operated by his rules. He entered that French bistro viewing it as another game board, another stage, another opportunity for display. He perceived Amani as merely a server. Someone paid to smile, agree, and transport items. He made assumptions. That's what this encounter truly represented. Assumptions, the quiet kind that develop in people who equate wealth with wisdom and power with truth. Sterling didn't care about the menu. He didn't even enjoy French cuisine. What truly ignited his reaction was the possibility that someone like Amani might possess knowledge he lacked. So he attempted to diminish her before anyone noticed. That's how fragile confidence operates. Sometimes you destroy everything rather than sit in someone else's shadow. Sterling, despite his charm and wealth, feared being outshone. He'd spent years constructing a world where he remained the expert, the authority, the person with answers. That world never required him to reconsider how he addressed people like Amani until this moment. But here's the thing about power: when you use it to step on the wrong person, the fall can be swifter than anticipated. Amani Dupree never dreamed of serving duck confit to wealthy men who avoided eye contact. That wasn't her plan. Born and raised in Baton Rouge as the eldest of 4 children. Her mother worked as a librarian, reading to her nightly in French and Spanish. Her father worked for the city, a quiet man with skilled hands and healing laughter. By 10, Amani read novels in 2 languages. By 16, she'd mastered German. Not to show off, but because she found it fascinating how different cultures shaped meaning through varied sounds. She earned a full scholarship to Spelman, majoring in linguistics with an African studies minor. At 22, she gained acceptance into a postgraduate language immersion program in Paris. She didn't immediately share the news with friends. She just stared at the email for 10 minutes, quietly crying at her library desk. She lived in the 11th arrondissement in a small apartment without an elevator. She'd walk to classes, scarf tucked beneath her chin, practicing phonetics silently. She adored French rhythm, precision, and elegance. But passion didn't cover expenses. After graduation, she returned home to help her sister raise children. Her mother had fallen ill, and the family needed support. Amani pursued teaching positions, interpreter roles, anything remotely related to her field. Nothing materialized. Budget constraints. Overqualified. Try again next term. Eventually, she entered Livia Mar seeking part-time work. The manager appreciated her voice. "You sound like someone who's consumed too many books," he said, handing her a black apron. Amani never protested. She folded napkins like choreographed art. She listened to customers struggle with coq au vin and bouillabaisse without showing irritation. She helped the kitchen translate orders for confused tourists. Most importantly, she observed everything. She noticed the couple who always shared crème brûlée. The man who ordered an imperfect French but never tipped above 5%. The elderly African-American woman who dined alone every other Tuesday with her own tea bags. Amani didn't merely work there. She watched. She studied. She told herself this was temporary. Someday she'd teach again or interpret at the United Nations or help students discover their love for language as she had. But life doesn't always rush toward you just because you're patient. So she remained, worked double shifts, assisted others, telling herself, grace isn't displayed when things go well. Grace is what you maintain when no one recognizes your full worth, yet you carry yourself as if they do. So when Sterling entered that afternoon, expensive watch, booming voice, making judgments before settling in, Amani didn't see authority. She saw a man who mistook silence for stupidity. And he chose the wrong woman to condescend to. Because Amani wasn't just fluent in French. She was fluent in dignity, fluent in composure, fluent in knowing precisely when not to react. That's what unsettled him. Not the translation, not the vocabulary. It was her refusal to flinch. She didn't escalate her voice. She didn't attempt to prove anything. She simply spoke clearly and completely, the way people do when they know exactly who they are. But the real surprise wasn't her response. It was how the rest of the restaurant would react next. The dining room didn't return to normal. It remained quiet but heavy. Patrons pretended to continue eating, but their movements slowed. Even the kitchen, typically a symphony of pans and activity, seemed to pause mid-breath. Sterling shifted uncomfortably in his chair like he had an unreachable itch. Amani returned moments later with his water, still, no ice, in a crystal-clear glass that captured sunlight perfectly. She placed it gently before him. He offered no thanks. She retrieved her notepad again, pen ready. "Would you like to hear the chef's recommendation, or have you decided?" Sterling cleared his throat. "I'll have the, He glanced at the menu again, then mumbled, "the beef bourguignon." Amani tilted her head slightly. "Beef bourguignon, sir," she corrected softly. "It's slow-braised beef stew with red wine, pearl onions, and carrots. Very tender." He blinked. "Right, that. Excellent choice," she said, writing it down. "And for your appetizer?" He stared at her, jaw tense. "You memorized the menu?" "Yes," she replied simply. "All of it?" He sounded incredulous. "Every ingredient, every wine pairing, and every allergen warning." He didn't respond. The couple across from him, perhaps in their late 60s, gave Amani the smallest smile as she passed. The man offered a tiny nod. She didn't smile back, not from rudeness, but because she didn't need applause. She wasn't performing. This was her work. Sterling leaned back in his chair, lifted the water glass, and took a sip. You could tell he despised that everyone had witnessed that moment, that his words hadn't landed, that someone he'd already deemed beneath him had cracked his image before an audience. Amani brought his appetizer minutes later, a small bowl of velvety green soup, the potage de courgette she described earlier. "Your zucchini veloute with herbs and creme fraiche," she announced. He looked down at it, then back at her. "Did you attend culinary school or something?" he asked, still attempting to assert something. "Anything?" "No, sir," she said. "I studied languages in Paris." His eyebrows rose slightly. "What were you doing there?" "Learning how people communicate when they want to be understood." There was no sarcasm in her tone, no smirk, just facts. "I see," he muttered and fell silent. She turned to leave, but before she could step away, he called out, "You know, I wasn't trying to be rude earlier." A man at the bar released a quick breath. Not quite laughter, not quite a cough. Sterling heard it and ignored it. "I was just surprised," he continued. "Most people working in restaurants like this, well, you don't expect." "You don't expect what, sir?" she asked. It wasn't sharp. It wasn't bait. It was a mirror. He looked at her for a long moment, perhaps too long. Then he said the worst possible thing. "I didn't mean anything by it." She let that statement hang in the air briefly, then said, "Meaning doesn't erase impact, Mr. Whitmore." His mouth opened slightly, probably preparing to argue, but she was already gone. Off to table 5, where a family of 3 waited politely for refills. At that point, no one in the restaurant pretended not to notice anymore. People whispered, some stealing discreet glances his way. The tension wasn't loud. It was taut, like everyone was waiting to see if he'd explode, storm out, or attempt to repair what he'd broken. But he didn't leave. He remained, ate silently, eyes downcast, barely touched his wine. And when Amani returned with the check, because he didn't request dessert, she didn't seek a tip, a compliment, or redemption. She simply said, "Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day." She walked away. Simple as that. And Sterling sat there staring at the bill, wondering how a $20 soup and a few French words had stripped away years of ego in under 20 minutes. But the part he didn't know yet, the part that would change everything, was that someone had been recording the entire incident. It started with a whisper, then came the phone screen. A girl at the table near the wall, college-aged, thick curls piled high, had captured most of it on video. The comment, the correction, the French, the silence, all of it. She hadn't intended to create controversy. She just thought, a billionaire condescends to a waitress and gets educated. People should see this. She uploaded the clip to her Instagram story before her creme brulee even arrived. Across the room, the kitchen staff learned what had happened. Word spread among line cooks like a telephone game. "Sterling Whitmore," someone whispered. "Yeah, that tech app guy. No, the new one. He tried to embarrass Amani. She responded with that chef's kiss French. Shut him down. Amani didn't hear any of it. She remained busy refilling water glasses, distributing dessert menus, checking on allergies like it was just another Wednesday. But people noticed. A woman near the window gave her a handwritten thank you on the back of a receipt. One of the bartenders quietly put her shift drink on the house. Even the manager, a gruff guy named Stan who mostly stayed glued to his spreadsheets, stepped out of his office just long enough to pat her shoulder and mutter, "Good work out there." Amani gave the same nod she always gave. Still didn't smile. She didn't need to. Sterling paid the bill. No tip. And when he left, it wasn't with his usual chest-out swagger. He didn't make a call or flash a smile or slide on his sunglasses like he was headed somewhere important. He just walked out through the front door, past the couple who refused to look at him, past the hostess who didn't say goodbye, and into the daylight where no one clapped, no one followed, and no one offered him the validation he usually fed on. Inside, someone finally asked Amani the question out loud. "You okay?" It came from a dishwasher. Jalen, barely 19, always wore headphones on one ear. He said it so quietly she almost didn't hear. Amani exhaled, tied the back of her apron tighter, and said, "I'm fine. He just thought I was small." "You're not." "I know." She didn't need revenge or apologies or anything loud. She just needed to hold her own, and she did. By the end of the shift, the video was already making rounds. Waitress shuts down Billionaire in French. Tech bro gets humbled. Grace under fire, the Amani Dupree way. Someone even added subtitles. But Amani didn't check her phone. She walked to her car as always, slow and steady, keys in one hand, jacket in the other. And for the first time in a long time, she felt seen. Not for her mistakes or her resume or her past, but for the strength she'd built in silence. But strength alone wouldn't be enough to handle what was coming next. It took less than 24 hours. By noon the next day, the clip had been reposted over 200 times. By evening, it reached Reddit's front page. The caption changed with every upload, but the story remained the same. A billionaire got checked by a woman who had nothing to prove. Then came the calls. Local news, bloggers, talk shows, even a podcast that usually just interviewed celebrities about skincare wanted her to discuss the moment. Amani ignored all of them. She turned off notifications, tucked her phone under her pillow, and went to work as always. Stan, the manager, pulled her aside. "You've got press in the parking lot. Don't let them in. This isn't TMZ." "I don't want anything from them," she said. "You sure? That kind of buzz? You could cash in." She gave him a look. It wasn't angry, just tired. "Not everything's for sale, Stan." He backed off. Meanwhile, Sterling disappeared. No tweets, no comments. His assistant stopped answering press emails. Rumors floated that he was handling a private matter or in a transition period. But people online weren't buying it. They were digging. Someone pulled clips from old interviews where he cut people off mid-question. Someone else posted screenshots of tweets where he'd mocked accents or corrected people's grammar publicly. And just like that, a picture started forming, not just of a man who made a mistake, but of a man who'd been comfortable making others feel small for years. The internet is a strange beast. It can make you a villain overnight, but it can also lift people up in ways they never expected. Amani's old college professor emailed her. "Saw the clip. You handled yourself with more grace than most diplomats I know." A former classmate from Paris sent a message in French. "You haven't lost your touch. Beautifully done." Even the bistro got flooded with reservations, some customers writing Amani's section only in the request box. Still, she kept her head down, took shifts, washed her own glassware, didn't dress any differently, didn't talk about it unless someone made her. Until one afternoon, 4 days after it all started, a reporter finally caught her outside near her car, microphone in hand, cameraman behind him. "Miss Dupree, can we ask just one question?" She sighed, looked over her shoulder at the back door, then turned back. "Only one," she said. "What was going through your mind in that moment?" She paused, then answered. "Nothing complicated. He talked to me like I was small. I just reminded him I'm not." The reporter blinked. That wasn't the quote he was hoping for. "Are you mad at him? Do you want an apology?" "I want him to think next time. That's it." Then she got in her car and drove off. And even though she didn't ask for it, didn't chase it, didn't try to go viral, people noticed her for exactly who she was. Not just a waitress, not just the woman who spoke French better than a tech billionaire, but a person who carried herself with dignity when the world expected a reaction. But before everything quieted down again, Sterling would break his silence. And when he did, no one was expecting what he said. The statement came 5 days later. Not a press conference, not a flashy tweet, just a PDF on Sterling's company website titled, "A Public Response from Sterling B. Whitmore." Most people expected damage control, maybe a half-hearted apology written by a PR team, buried under legal jargon. But it was different. The letter began simply, "I spoke to someone in a way I never should have. I thought money made me important. I thought silence meant I was right. I was wrong on both counts." That caught people off guard. He went on to say he watched the video not once, but over 20 times. He admitted the power in Imani's voice shook him. Not because she embarrassed him, but because she didn't try to. She didn't come at him with rage or pettiness. She came with facts, calm truth. She didn't clap back. She didn't curse me out. She didn't need to. That's what made it hit harder. The letter ended with this: "I don't expect forgiveness. I expect to earn back my place by listening. And if I ever meet Miss Dupree again, the first thing I'll say is thank you, because no one's ever held a mirror up to me so clearly." It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. The internet didn't let him off the hook. But some people nodded, said maybe he was learning something. Others didn't care. They were just glad Imani's name was finally being spoken with respect. Imani read the letter one morning before her shift. She didn't comment, didn't repost it, just folded the page in half, slipped it into her bag, and went to work. That night, while wiping down table 7, a teenager walked in, maybe 16, twist out in her hair, oversized hoodie, nervous energy all over her. She waited until Imani finished up and said quietly, "Can I ask you something?" Imani nodded. "That thing with the guy, you weren't scared?" Imani smiled. "Of him? No." The girl fidgeted. "I think I would have cried or cussed him out." "I thought about it," Imani said. "But then I remembered who I was." The girl nodded slowly. "Yeah." She started to turn, but Imani called out, "Hey." She turned back. "You don't have to shrink to make people comfortable. Ever. You hear me?" The girl smiled, a real one this time, and left. And that was the thing. Imani didn't go viral because she spoke French. She went viral because she held on to her worth in a room where someone tried to take it away. And she did it without yelling, without proving, without performing, just truth and presence. Because sometimes the loudest power is the kind that never raises its voice. If this story made you feel something, if it made you think about how we speak to people, how we make assumptions, or how we carry ourselves when no one claps, then maybe take that with you. Speak softer, listen harder, and remember, power isn't what you say, it's how you stand. If you believe respect shouldn't depend on a job title or a paycheck, share this story. Someone out there might need the reminder that they don't have to shrink to be seen.